The young father had barely taken 3 steps into the crowded subway station when he saw a frightened woman stumble backward, surrounded by angry voices that seemed far louder than the morning train roaring into the platform. In a single heartbeat, the entire station became a test of character. Most people looked away, pretending they had somewhere more important to be. One man tightened his grip on his little son's hand and walked straight toward the strangers who were humiliating a woman they believed had no one left to stand beside her. If you had been standing there, would you have risked becoming the next target? Would you have protected someone you had never met, knowing it could make your own difficult life even harder? Nathan had served 8 years in the United States Navy before returning home with aching knees, quiet nightmares, and the responsibility of raising his 6-year-old son, Samuel, after losing his wife to a sudden illness. Every morning was a careful balancing act between school drop-offs, construction jobs, unpaid bills, and finding enough strength to smile for the little boy who still believed his father could solve every problem in the world. Nathan knew what loneliness looked like because he lived with it every day, yet he never allowed pain to harden his heart. His wife had always believed that kindness was most valuable when it was inconvenient, and those words remained alive inside him long after she was gone. The woman standing near the platform looked exhausted rather than wealthy. Her gray coat had seen better days, her shoes were dusty from walking, and she carried only a worn leather bag that looked almost empty. A security misunderstanding had quickly turned ugly after another passenger accused her of stealing a forgotten wallet. Without waiting for proof, several strangers surrounded her with harsh accusations. Fear spread across her face, not because she appeared guilty, but because she realized nobody intended to listen. Nathan watched Samuel squeeze his hand a little tighter, silently asking what they should do. Instead of walking away, Nathan stepped forward and calmly asked everyone to give the woman space until the truth could be sorted out. His voice was steady, shaped by years of military discipline rather than anger. Some people mocked him immediately, questioning why a struggling single father would defend someone who looked suspicious. Others warned him not to interfere. Nathan ignored every insult. He simply reminded everyone that accusations were not evidence and that every person deserved fairness before judgment. The station security officers finally reviewed surveillance footage, revealing that another traveler had accidentally picked up the missing wallet before realizing the mistake and returning it minutes later. The frightened woman had been innocent all along. One by one, the loud voices disappeared into embarrassed silence. Most people hurried away without apologizing, leaving only Nathan, Samuel, and the woman standing quietly beside the platform. The woman introduced herself as Margaret. Her voice carried gratitude but also sadness that seemed much older than the incident itself. She thanked Nathan for showing courage when everyone else had chosen comfort. Nathan simply smiled and told Samuel that doing the right thing should never depend on whether someone could repay you. Samuel nodded with innocent admiration, storing another lesson that would shape the kind of man he would someday become. Before boarding separate trains, Margaret wished them well and disappeared into the crowd, leaving Nathan convinced he would never see her again. Life continued to test Nathan in every possible way. The construction company where he worked announced unexpected layoffs only 3 weeks later. His savings disappeared into rent, groceries, and medical bills for Samuel's asthma treatments. Some evenings Nathan quietly skipped dinner so his son would never notice there was not enough food for both of them. He searched endlessly for work, facing rejection after rejection despite years of discipline and experience. Each refusal chipped away at his confidence, yet every morning he still tied Samuel's shoes, packed his school lunch, and promised that everything would somehow be all right. He had made similar promises before, even when he wasn't certain he believed them himself. One rainy afternoon Nathan received an unexpected letter inviting him to interview for a facilities management position at a charitable foundation headquartered in New York City. The invitation seemed almost unbelievable because he had never submitted an application there. Assuming it was probably a mistake, he still borrowed a clean suit from a friend and traveled to the impressive downtown office building. The marble floors, elegant artwork, and breathtaking skyline made him feel completely out of place. Samuel waited patiently beside him, proudly wearing the small tie his father had helped him straighten that morning. When the interview room doors opened, Nathan stopped walking. Sitting at the far end of the conference table was Margaret, no longer wearing the weathered coat from the subway station. She was dressed simply but elegantly, surrounded by executives who immediately stood when she entered. Nathan soon learned that Margaret was the founder and majority owner of one of America's largest technology investment companies, with a fortune worth billions of dollars. She had intentionally dressed modestly and traveled without assistance because she wanted to experience ordinary life without privilege shaping every interaction. The subway incident had shown her something money never could. It revealed who would defend another human being when there was absolutely nothing to gain. Margaret explained that she had quietly followed Nathan's story after that day, learning about his military service, his devotion to Samuel, and the quiet struggles he never shared publicly. She had seen countless ambitious people seeking her approval because of her wealth, yet Nathan had protected her, believing she possessed none. That single act had restored part of her faith in humanity after years of wondering whether kindness still existed without hidden motives. She offered Nathan the position immediately, along with health care, educational assistance for Samuel, flexible hours, and a salary capable of transforming their future. Nathan accepted with tears he no longer tried to hide. The months that followed changed more than their financial circumstances. Nathan supervised community projects helping struggling veterans, single parents, and homeless families find stable housing and employment. His personal experiences allowed him to understand pain in ways no business degree ever could. Samuel watched his father leave for work each morning carrying pride instead of worry. Margaret often visited the community centers without cameras or public announcements, reminding everyone that generosity should never become a performance. Together they proved that compassion could travel quietly from one life into another until entire communities began changing because someone had once chosen courage instead of convenience. Years later, Nathan often returned to that same subway station with Samuel, now old enough to understand the full story. Thousands of strangers continued rushing through the platforms every day, unaware that one ordinary morning had rewritten several lives forever. Nathan would simply pause for a moment, remembering how easily he could have looked away like everyone else. Instead, one small decision had opened doors that money alone never could. More importantly, Samuel grew into a young man who believed that true strength was measured not by physical power, military medals, or financial success, but by the willingness to stand beside someone standing completely alone. Before this story ends, tell us in the comments, have you ever witnessed a moment when one small act of kindness completely changed someone's life? Nathan never considered himself a hero. He was simply a father trying to raise his son with compassion in a world that often rewarded indifference. Yet that ordinary decision became extraordinary because it reminded everyone who heard the story that we rarely know who stands before us, what burdens they carry, or how deeply they need someone to believe in them. Sometimes the greatest blessings arrive disguised as moments when doing the right thing seems to offer nothing in return. And if this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe so more people can be reminded that kindness still has the power to change the world, one brave choice at a time.